Ladies and gentlemen, stock up for me because Birm is back on the beat. I could not be more excited.
I was not in timeout. Let's be clear. Number two, it's only been like 2 days.
No, it's been forever.
Yeah, I mean,
the live show's different. This is the Austin and Birm Show. There's a huge graphic back here that says it.
The live show at Roosters is also on the Austin and Birm Show. I was there on Monday. Everyone saw it. I was there. I was talking to you the entire time during the game on Saturday, so I don't know why this feels so different. But hello.
It's just not the same, man.
Good to be back.
I wish you missed me as much as I missed you.
I'm glad to be back in this beautiful, fine city of Columbus, Ohio.
Welcome to the beat. It is a Wednesday. It is a stock watch. And I heard you, America. You liked the buy and sell version. And so we're going to do that again this week as we dive back into it. Is that okay with you?
Perfect.
Okay. Buy or sell, Julian Sayin will win the Heisman.
I'm still going to sell.
Okay.
But it's moving towards buy. I would really like to see like Ty Simpson have a bad day or two for Alabama. I think that would work in his favor. And then, of course, there's like the romance about Fernando Mendoza and Indiana and everybody wanting Indiana to be a thing. And the reality is he's not going to be challenged by anybody until the Big Ten championship game, whether that's Ohio State or someone else probably.
Could the Heisman be on the line in Indianapolis?
I think that there's a real good chance it will be. And it's funny because in the last handful of years, Ryan Day's quarterbacks have been so good and so prolific statistically. But with C.J. Stroud, we talked about it a number of times in his career, like if you just beat Michigan, you probably win a Heisman. And we certainly felt that way in 2022. He didn't, and he didn't. And obviously it's been, at this juncture, 19 years since Ohio State had a quarterback wearing number 10 win the Heisman Trophy.
That's a very specific stat.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just the numbers are the numbers. Julian has been as good. I think the thing about him that I find really interesting is that he has been as good as Ohio State's allowed him to be. And, like, it's starting to feel like they're realizing that. It's starting to feel like they're like, well, actually, he can do all these things if we just let him. I hope the training wheels are off. I hope that the offense is going to lean into what it does best over this next 5-week stretch of games. But it's also a reminder that we play in the Midwest, in the Big Ten. You're going to have to go to Purdue, which is horrible. Weather-wise, it's going to be bad. It's going to be ugly for some reason.
I wasn't driving. I was riding home on Sunday with Spencer Holbrook and Mick Walker of Letterman Row, and they stopped for lunch in West Lafayette. And it was as gray and raining as hard as it ever has happened in the Midwest. And Mick was like, is this what you mean about, going to West Lafayette? I'm like, yeah, it's this way every single day. Prove me wrong.
It's going to happen. And then obviously you don't know what the weather's going to be like on the last weekend of November. Like, that affects the Big Ten and their quarterbacks as far as their ability to put up big numbers. So, the ball watchers out there might watch Ohio State throughout the month of November and realize what Julian Sayin is doing and give him the credit for continuing to improve and what he's doing for the Buckeye offense, but his statistics may not bear that out. So that's why I'm still selling, but he's certainly moving up. As we talked about at the live show at Roosters on Monday, he's now third in the Heisman numbers I've seen at plus 400. So that's he was like plus 1,400 before the game on Saturday.
Yeah, it has changed dramatically, the perception of him. And maybe it's silly, there's a part of me that wishes that it had stayed overcast and had maybe rained at Camp Randall. I mentioned it, I think, last week going into the game.
We talked about
it. That there would have been value in letting him see some of that and get a taste of it. Just because there's not a lot of that in his body of work previously, coming from California. And you and I have both had conversations with C.J. Stroud about that, and he would downplay it. But there's also a difference between saying, well, the weather's not going to make any difference, and then going out and having snow and freezing temperatures in the big house. Like, it is and I know there were extenuating circumstances health-wise in that game specifically to talk about C.J., but there isn't a way to simulate that, and it's going to be difficult. And once you get past that into the playoff, it may not matter in any way, shape, or form based on where Ohio State could be. But I think if you're talking about the end of November and you want this losing streak over, and I know that everyone in Buckeye Nation wants that desperately, I think that would have been a meaningful thing to check off the list.
Yeah, and it's also not like just because it's rainy, it's only the quarterback that has issues. Or if it's 25 degrees and raining, or snowing, the ball it turns into a rock. Like, it's harder to catch, it's harder to kick, it's harder for everybody. So it's not unusual that a quarterback would be less efficient and less productive in that sort of setting. But I think that's the type of stuff that will end up hurting both Mendoza and Julian Sayin as we get down the stretch.
Yeah, I hesitate to do this, but I'm buying that Julian Sayin is going to win the Heisman, and I do it reluctantly. I think that's the reality, and I think it is unfortunate that it will come at the expense of Jeremiah Smith and how incredible he is, how important he is to the overall offense. It is not possible to assess his value just statistically. Now, his numbers, as I mentioned on Monday, are not that different than where they were through 7 games a year ago.
He has more catches.
He has more catches. The yardage is just slightly down, just a tick. I think it's 14 yards difference. He had 1 more touchdown at this time a year ago. And, we weren't having this conversation a year ago. It's like, how much more could Jeremiah do if Emeka Egbuka wasn't on this team or Carnell Tate wasn't out there? Because there was a clear example and reminder, like, this is the benefit to the offense, that you can't double both of them. And somehow, some way, that has really shifted this year. I don't really understand why.
I don't understand why either, because Carnell Tate is clearly showing an ability to destroy you.
He is a first-round NFL wide receiver as well.
He is beating teams by himself. So eventually someone's going to decide to play them both a little bit more honest. And when that happens, then Jeremiah Smith will go bonkers. I mean, again, we're going to run into what we saw on Saturday with Wisconsin. Even a guy like Luke Fickell, whose entire career is basically man defense, was like, yeah, we're not going to do that. And who will? Like, I don't know that anybody is dumb enough to try it for a whole game. So, you have to find different ways to be impactful. And Jeremiah has certainly done it. Like I said, I mean, he has 3 games this year with 9 catches. Like, that's pretty good. It's pretty impactful.
Okay, so we have let's shift to the defense, because I think it would be easy to just keep all attention on the offense, and I promise we'll come back to it. There's a lot going on there. But when you look at this group, and Lorenzo Styles was only he was available, but he was only going to play in an emergency at Wisconsin. I think that makes total sense. It allowed Devin Sanchez to get more reps, and it allowed Lorenzo to
By
get...
the way, whoever that official was who called pass interference on Devin Sanchez on that second drive of the game, stock down on you. That was terrible.
Yeah. Open your eyes. I don't want it to be reviewable because we don't need any more of them, right. But that was a horrendous call. Anyway, so you got Penn State looming after the off date, and I know that there is the option to play both and rotate more. Are you buying or selling Lorenzo Styles going right back into the starting lineup against Penn State with these extra 2 weeks to get that shoulder right?
I'm buying it. I still think that it's the best configuration for the whole defense. Devin Sanchez will continue to grow and continue to be better. Played pretty well against Wisconsin, but I mean, there wasn't much of a test there. I don't know exactly that Ethan Grunkmeyer is going to be the guy to test you when Penn State comes to town in 2 weeks, but they have a week off as well. So they're going to have some opportunities to clean up some things. They have better receivers than Wisconsin by a wide margin. Now, they don't get used much at Penn State, but we'll see. Like, as that is a proud program. They are going to come into Columbus with their backs against the wall, realizing that if you don't win that game, all of a sudden you're looking at maybe like not even becoming bowl eligible this year, which is kind of insane to say. So they're going to need to pull out all the stops. And I think from an Ohio State perspective, Lorenzo Styles, especially against an offense that does so much eye candy and misdirection and motions and all the other things, using the tight ends the way they do, using the running backs in the passing game. I think Lorenzo Styles, his tackling ability, the physical way he plays has to be on the field. We'll see if he can hold up. That's the question, because we are under the impression that the shoulder issues are something that are just going to have to kind of persevere through. So you get as much out of him as you can, and then you get him out, I think, is what you have to do if you're Ohio State right now. I
think it's a huge deal that Devin Sanchez has been able to get a couple starts under his belt, a couple opportunities to play on a full-time basis and learn and grow and develop through that. Wisconsin was not all that meaningful for him specifically. There were very few opportunities where Wisconsin was testing him. You'd think they would have tried more, but they are down to a third-string quarterback, and they don't have much talent at wide receiver to begin with. So I don't know that we learned a whole lot, and I don't know that we can take that and be like, yep, some of the ups and downs and inconsistencies against Illinois are fixed. Like, there wasn't a barometer of that. I think it is meaningful in the long run that Ohio State has got to this point where if it lingers for Lorenzo Styles, they know what the solution is. They can slide Jermaine into slot. He's going to be very impactful there, and Devin Sanchez can step up, and you still have Aaron Scott getting some reps in certain situations. You're thinking that maybe Bryce West could help at some point down the road, whether that's nickel, safety work, corner, whatever, like some configuration. Like that's all a benefit. That's the part we've been talking about throughout the offseason of building depth and planning for the future, whether that's within the season or beyond that. But I think you're still having the same conversation that we did after Illinois. It's like, are you certain that Devin is going to win more reps than he's going to lose at corner? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe the conversation by January could be different. But right now, it's not even a conversation of who's better at nickel between Lorenzo Styles and Jermaine Matthews, because I think the ceiling with Jermaine is higher. It's more of a comparison of what you're losing when Jermaine leaves corner and Devin Sanchez goes in the game.
Yeah, and again, maybe down the road, that's a conversation that you revisit and you look at and say, well, Devin is the best corner in the country. He's not that right now, so it takes time to get there. I think the other guys you mentioned, guys like Aaron Scott, like who continue to push and make plays when he's on the field, like those are some of the things that you can work in here over the next 5 weeks as you get ready for Michigan and the end of the season push. But Lorenzo has been really, really solid this year, and so getting him back and being healthy, I'm glad they didn't play him against Wisconsin. I thought it was probably the way that would go. But also, Luke Fickell changed quarterbacks 27-0, and they said it wasn't because of injury, but just to get something different. Even though you started the third-string quarterback over the second-string quarterback, and then you brought in a second-string quarterback. Whoa! I mean,
I don't know.
I don't understand what's going on with our guy Luke, but they certainly made it easy for Ohio State against the pass on Saturday because they weren't even trying. And so, to your point, I don't think that you really get a full accounting of how well Devin played, except for, again, that horrible PI call against him early in the game. So there's enough body of work of Lorenzo Styles and then having Jermaine Matthews on the outside that tells us what that looks like. So I would go that way as much as you can and then continue to rotate Devin and Aaron into the game as needed. But the overall defense, especially from a tackling perspective, especially from the ability to be physical at the line of scrimmage, I think Lorenzo is still an upgrade there.
All right, so we've covered some offense, we've covered some defense.
We're not talking about special teams.
We have to.
Oh, boy.
We have to. Buy or sell that Ohio State special teams will become competent in every phase by the end of the regular season.
I mean, so. We haven't seen it in half a decade. I don't know why we're going to see it now. Ironically, I thought that Brandon Ennis, when he caught the ball on Saturday against Wisconsin.
It's a weird one, right? All right, let's get into that part. He was dynamic once he got the ball in his hands.
Pretty good once he touched the ball.
Because somebody on the Letterman Row staff was saying, well, did you see that return? It was electric. And he's like, he gained 7 yards on that return and could have lost it. Well, it was like net negative 25.
Because you let the ball bounce over your head. I just don't, I don't know what to make of it. The idea that Ohio State doesn't have a kicker who can reliably make a 38-yard field goal is shocking to me. The idea, and again, punting is what it is. I had the opportunity to stay home on Saturday and watch football all day. Every punter in America stinks. I don't know what's going on.
Now, the same person, which is Spencer Holbrook, by the way, at Letterman Row.
Yeah,
he does fantastic work. He actually, I don't want to steal it, he said that they're right at the national punting average, that it's down across the country this year. There's just bad punting.
Yeah.
Period.
It's bad. But again, we look at it from the perspective of if 125 teams have bad punters, Ohio State should be one of the 9 teams that has a good one.
Sure.
And from a recruiting standpoint, the question is going to be, well, why would a kid come to Ohio State to punt 18 times a year? And the reason you do that is because you can win a national championship at Ohio State, and if you punt it 18 times a year, like Drew Chrisman did, or
Cam Johnson
did, Cam Johnson's still in the NFL. You can do that. So I think he's still in the NFL. Maybe not anymore. But he was in the NFL for 9 years. You can get to the NFL at any position from Ohio State. Long snappers, kickers, punters. It just seems to have a real challenge finding guys who can do it consistently. And we know that Ohio State was this close heading into the Minnesota game.
Mm-hmm.
Not the Minnesota game, the Illinois game. I apologize. from making a change at punter and giving Nick McClarty an opportunity with his leg, which should be significantly bigger than Joe McGuire's, and then the things that have been holding McClarty back in practice, the ability to quickly get the ball off his foot, not get the pump blocked, etc., reared its ugly head again 2 days before that game. And you're like, well, okay, back to the drawing board. So it's weird.
There has been a lot of conversation about this, and maybe we've not put too fine a point on it because we don't watch every practice, and a lot of this is what we're hearing and what we're told. But it is not a matter of, now there is inconsistency with the leg and the direction. We've talked about that since he got here, and it is sometimes a boom or bust situation. But this isn't just a matter of, are you rolling the dice with the distance that it's kicked?
Yeah.
The reason Ohio State has been reluctant, to my understanding, is that the roll of the dice is, are you going to get a nice punt or is it going to be blocked? And if that's a 50-50 conversation, that is a massive risk to be taking.
It's an 80-20 conversation. It's
whatever it is. And I'm just throwing out numbers. Maybe it's not the worst case scenario, but if there's a 10% chance, a 15%, whatever, because you know that there is a stopwatch and an amount of time to get the punt off that's available to you, that's more of a risk than losing 10 to 15 yards of field position on the punt. Like that's a gamble that I don't think Ohio State should take.
Clearly, they don't think they should either. Otherwise, they would. But where you go from here, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't matter which guy goes back to field to punt. Like we've seen the same issues for Jackson Smith and Jigba goes back there, fumble. Chris Olave, fumble. Like Jeremiah Smith, fumble. I don't know. It makes zero sense, and it's not like something you can work on. You can't work. Yeah, I guess you can work on catching punts, but like you can. I guarantee you, they're not fumbling them all the time in practice.
No.
So something's a little different, and Ohio State has one of the best NFL all-time special teams players in Nate Ebner as a part of their special team staff, and I think maybe there's a discussion that he should be given a little bit more power in that dynamic and to make the changes that he sees fit. But even on Saturday, when you're talking about things like balls going over Brandon Ennis's head, or obviously the not fake punt that Wisconsin ran, like that. Those are just mental errors. And a week before, sending 10 guys out for the punt team multiple times, like these are just things that there's no excuse for it. Like
right.
There's no excuse. And I don't know. I mean, I know Talking Tuesday was yesterday, but I think if Ryan Day was given that lie detector that Adam was talking about, like he would probably just throw up his hands and then smash the lie detector and say, I don't know.
I kind of want to do that too, because
it's so weird.
There's just nothing to really, I can't say nothing. It is nitpicking, offensively and defensively for Ohio State. When we are pointing out the areas that they can improve, depth on defense, getting the run game going to a higher level. Like some of that is just like luxury items and first world problems for the first ranked team in the country. Like special teams, this is not up to the program standards. No one could look you in the eye with a straight face, tell you that that's what they expect. They've changed the way that they align it. When they got rid of Parker Fleming a couple of years ago, and they reorganized it, and Ryan Day got feedback from Jim Tressel, like give some of the assistant coaches more skin in the game.
Tressel's not running for governor. I'm sure we could find something for him to do around the building.
Well, got any ideas? I'm sure he'll be open to them. But like they did already change the way that they do business to try and get some solutions. And sometimes you see that. And then when it does go right, Ryan Day's quick to point out, well, this is what Brian Hartline's doing with this unit. Here, James Laurinaitis has this going on over here. Got Matt Guerreri doing this stuff. And there have been times where there's positives, and they deserve credit when they get it. But it is not consistent enough by any stretch of the imagination. And I know that the impulse is to say, well, if you can't get this done, if it's come down to a field goal or execution in the punting game, you give up bad field position, which we have seen in the game with letting kickoffs drop or punts not be fielded correctly. That special teams, it can cost you a game. And that is true. It can. It still may not.
So what do you do to fix it? Okay, so here's the thing. We know the issue with McClarty, or we think we know the issue. We've heard enough about it to at least have some context. Why would Ohio State over these next 5 weeks not have basically an open kicking tryout again between Jaden Fielding and Jackson Corville and alternate them in the game? Why would Jackson Corville, and this is not because I think Jaden Fielding can't do it. it's clear that he is inconsistent. I mean, but it is what it is. Like, especially from the left hash, it seems like in my vision of things. But why not just like this next Saturday against Penn State? If it's 24-14 and you're kicking a field goal from the 30-yard line, why do you not let Corville just try one?
Yeah, I mean, only Ryan Day.
Because it can't be less likely to be good than Jaden Fielding, right?
I mean, the track record was such with Jackson Corville when they brought him in out of the transfer portal that I almost assumed that was done specifically to replace Jaden Fielding. Now, at worst, it was going to be to provide competition, which he has, and I assume, and maybe that will be another thing that we can talk about over the next couple of weeks, or maybe even into November. It's like, what does the week-to-week competition actually looks like? How are you monitoring? How are you measuring if one guy's not getting game reps? And I know there aren't that many to go around. Right. Ohio State is not trying to kick field goals in games.
Right, and the frustration is that, for example, the running game, to properly assess the need for competition, there's Isaiah West out on the field. There's C.J. Donaldson on the field. There's James Peoples on the field. There's Will Jackson on the field. Right guard, we're seeing Josh Padilla start to take more and more reps, and so you can have like a apples to apples comparison of how they're doing. And when it comes to Jaden Fielding, maybe he's a much better kicker in practice than Jackson Corville, but what does it matter what you're doing in practice if every third field goal you miss?
Yeah, it's not been great. It's been frustrating. It's hard to really buy into any stock with them. Are you buying or selling that there will be any change to the starting lineup anywhere? I guess Lorenzo Styles would count as a change.
I buy it. I struggle to see a scenario where the right guard situation stays the same. I don't see it. And you know, the reality is you can always turn around if Josh Padilla doesn't do what you think he will against Penn State, you can always put Tegra back in there. But something has to give. The effort, the energy, the execution is all lacking, and everyone sees it. So I have a tough time believing that stays the same heading into Penn State, unless Tegra Shabola just goes out for the next week of practice, and you know there's a Wednesday practice and a Thursday practice, then they get the weekend off, then there's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. He would have to probably have a real like rebirth over these next.
If he's done it before,
yeah, he has done it. That's why I don't want to rule it out altogether, but. If you need to constantly be motivated to keep your job in that way, then you have to question whether or not it should be your job to begin with. I would think, but that's the one spot I don't think we'll see. I don't think we'll see Isaiah West be like the second tailback against Penn State, but I think it's obvious that workload is going to continue. He had more carries on Saturday than C.J. Donaldson, and James Peoples did not have any. So I think that you're starting to see the pecking order get shuffled there.
Are you surprised by that with West?
Not surprised by it because the conversation with Carlos Loughlin when they signed Isaiah West, it was very clear that he believed Bo Jackson and Isaiah West were like very underrated. That being the case, we also haven't really had an opportunity to pick apart or dissect the way that Carlos Loughlin recruits. So like you're like, oh, of course he's going to say the guys that he recruited and the guys that signed are underrated, but he valued Isaiah West way higher than anybody else. And so when you see that, you think, okay, well, maybe there's something in this guy. It was kind of eerie watching him on TV. Again, I was like, oh, Travion Henderson. It just looks exactly like him on the field. So obviously not quite the giddy up, but like the way he ran, the way he looked, holding, like, yeah, interesting. Not surprised. He's healthy. He, like Bo Jackson, had some injury issues that cost him a lot of time his senior year. So he didn't get into Ohio State until, being fully activated until July, despite arriving in January. So it makes sense that the black stripe coming off last Wednesday probably should have been a sign that Ohio State was going to give him a little bit more juice. But
I was skeptical that was going to happen. And actually, I said that at some point. It was like, I don't know that the carries that he got at the end of the Illinois game are going to carry enough weight to get him into the lineup the following week. Because they didn't get the first down. They had to put the defense back out there. Then they put the starters back out there. Is that it? I know that there have been a ton of people, not just Locke, but you, Mick Walker, other people that have evaluated him. No, Isaiah West has got something. He's got that jolt of energy. He's going to be electric. And that was really the first time in a game situation. Going to hand it to him, and Isaiah West is going to run the clock out here for Ohio State, and it didn't happen. And I was like, well, maybe that doesn't mean anything for next week.
Maybe it doesn't happen with the backup offensive line.
Maybe it doesn't, yeah.
I mean, it obviously doesn't happen
I'm an idiot.
when the entire team stopped playing like they did in the last 10 minutes of that Illinois game. So it's not altogether going to surprise me if by the Michigan game that the rotation at running back is just Bo Jackson and Isaiah West, and then you use C.J. Donaldson in situational moments. But it's clear that he does not have the explosion that the other two guys do. And for an offense in a run game that is seemingly desperate for explosives, like I don't know how you intentionally play the guy that lacks it. But that's just me.
So, all right.
Stock up on the freshman class at Ohio State. I mean, that
seems like it's pretty good.
That's one that heading into the season, we were like, all these guys are going to slide right in. But now you're starting to see, obviously, Bo and Isaiah. You're starting to see Quincy Porter. You're starting to see, and Nate Roberts has played all year. Now you're starting to see more Jarquez Carter, more Riley Pettijohn, more Devin Sanchez. We saw Fahim Delane getting, this is going to turn out to be a really important freshman class for Ohio State because all these guys that we thought were going to be the building blocks of a national championship run in 2026 are now doing it and may not be there in 2026 because it's looking like this window for another championship has moved up.
Well, and then
because everyone else in college football kind of stinks.
Then it could be up to them to go out for the 3-peat.
Well, then if you'd like to donate to the Arvell Reese Return Fund, reach out to somebody at the 1870 Society.
If Venmo is back up by then, it's at Ryan-Day 2024 National Champs. I think that's his Venmo.
It must be his Venmo, yeah. If it's not, I've been sending money to the wrong person for a while. Why am I sending money to Ryan Day?
You should flip that.
Wait a second. He should send it to me.
Yeah. You have to hit the request button, not the pay button.
My apologies. No, it certainly sets up. That's what we talked about last week. Like, it's crazy to think about stock way up or buying on the fact that Ohio State is the clear-cut national championship favorite after an offseason where a lot of people are like, it's fine if you don't win one this year because you just won and there's a bunch of transition. And now you look at it and you're like, this team's better. This team might be better than last year's team somehow.
That's a crazy amount of stock to put in Ohio State, but they have earned it so far. They're 7-0 as they hit the midway point of improvement week. We will not be back in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center for the rest of the week. Tuesday was the only day for that, so no more snap judgments. We'll have 3 Thoughts Thursday. We will have a mailbag on Freaky Friday, and that's it. Just batten down the hatches a little bit to get through this one, and then that stretch run beginning a week from Saturday with Penn State coming to Ohio State for a big noon kickoff to kick off November. This, though, a modified buy or sell stock watch on the beat. Great to have Jeremy Birmingham back. I am Austin Ward. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you later.